A new party in Uganda's political space, the People's Front for Freedom. That was a name that was reserved at the Uganda Electoral Commission by the Katonga faction, who were from the Front for Democratic Change. There are conversations that there was a delegates conference that resolved to dissolve the Front for Democratic Change party. Today, we want to hear what is really going on in the FDC camp. I'm privileged to be sitting with the president of the Front for Democratic Change Party, Patrick Oboi Amuriat. Patrick Oboi Amuriat, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for making time.
Thank you very much, Solomon. Thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be on this show for the very, very first time, and to commend you for really understanding our situation as the Forum for Democratic Change, that the FDC has got one president, and that president is Patrick Oboi Amuriat. I think it was a slip of the tongue on your part when you say the faction of FDC in Katonga. The party that I lead is not factionalized. It does not have factions. We have just got one mainstream, and I think for the sake of clarity, I would like to add that this mainstream has got its registered offices on plot 1164 Entebbe Road in Kampala, commonly known as Najankumbi. It has a leadership that is registered by the regulator of the parties, or political parties and organizations in this country, that is the Electoral Commission of Uganda. And I'm registered as the party president, together with the other officials. We have got members of parliament who were elected as FDC, 30 in number now, about to get to 31. And we continue to receive financing from the government through the Electoral Commission by statutory arrangement. We also continue to field candidates whenever an opportunity arises. And so by and large, really the control of the party, the legitimate, leaders of the party are the leaders whom I head as president of the FDC.
And that's where I was coming from. I just wanted to jump in real quick because there was a statement that was released, and I'm sure you've seen it. It's dated 26th of August 2024, signed by Chairman Ambassador Waswa Birigwa, clearly on the Front for Democratic Change headed paper. And this is what it says: notice to dissolve the Forum for Democratic Change Party, pursuant to the resolutions of the National Delegates Conference that sat on the 19th of August 2024. Notice to dissolve the Forum for Democratic Change is hereby issued in accordance to Article 36 of the Forum for Democratic Change Constitution, dated at Kampala this day of the 26th day of August 2024, under my hand, Ambassador Waswa Birigwa. The party that you're saying, there's a faction that is saying it has dissolved the Forum for Democratic Change. Would love to hear from you. What's going on within the Forum for Democratic Change
party? In this
party?
country, anybody can go to NASA Road and produce a headed paper. When you look at what Waswa Birigwa presents there, it's a headed paper with an address on plot 6, Katonga Road. I mean, this is not our address to begin with. And I would like to inform viewers that that is posturing at its best. And that for us, we are unbothered about that notice. It does not affect us. The people who should be making such a notice under Article 36 of our Constitution should be us, the legitimate leaders, the recognized leaders. And I'm just wondering, that notice is really for the sake of confusing the public. What its effect going to be? Zero. It's not going to affect the manner in which we operate. We are not going to shut down on account of that notice even for a single minute. And so we would just like to spend time informing the population, especially our members, that letter has got no effect at all, because it was a result of a resolution taken by a body that was illegally constituted, something that court determined many months ago, And it's very surprising that people who claim to have gone to school, having huge degrees, are not utilizing that knowledge that even a common village person would be able to discern.
And you raised that in your reaction to this letter. And I mean, you mentioned it was a 4 or 5 page document, clearly laying out the historical perspective. The FDC party members are confused. There's the delegates conference that is happening, that is chaired by Waswabirigwa, which of course that camp has Dr. Kiza Besigye, it has Elias Lukwago, Semujunganda, some of the big wigs within the Forum for Democratic Change. Then there's the party president, Patrick Amuriat Oboi, who also has, also sometimes, he also called the delegates conference. It has the Nathan Nandala Mafabis and, a list of all other party members. There's confusion within the Forum for Democratic Change.
Yeah, it is that confusion that we are laboring to sort out. And we sympathize, of course, with the public, with our members who have been put into this kind of situation. As far as the leadership of the FDC is concerned, there is no confusion whatsoever. And so our biggest task at the moment is to sort out that confusion in the minds of the public and settle this matter in as far as the understanding the situation is concerned, particularly for our members and also, the political players in this country. And I think this is the strategy that our friends sitting in Katonga have adopted. Continue to stir up the water, cause confusion, not allow us to settle. Whenever we go out, they're bringing in something new. But I believe that, time is going to be our best ally in this, because that notice of 6 months, the 6 months will come, and whatever they would like to do based on the notice that has been given is going to fall through, definitely. As day follows night, I would say to you that that is just merely misinforming the public, and is of no consequence to the stability of the FDC.
Well, it could be because they're presenting these resolutions of the delegates conference to the Electoral Commission as part of the paperwork that they have dissolved the Forum for Democratic Change.
That is again another level of misunderstanding, because I don't think the Electoral Commission is going to admit this kind of fun, because they do not have authority. I think what our friends should be preoccupied with is, first of all, to take control over the party if they're interested in the party. But if they are not interested in the party, then I would like to say that what they have started doing in forming a new political organization is noble. It's a good thing. It's allowed by the Constitution. It's guaranteed by the Constitution under the articles of the Constitution that guarantee freedom of association. And so my advice to our friends is, if they really feel that there's mismanagement of the institution called the FDC, if they feel that the leaders are not serving their interests and the interests of the public, allow them to continue doing what they are doing. Form a new organization. Go with that new organization and go and speak to the people of Uganda. Advance your agenda to them and let your agenda be accepted. I think that to form an organization by first killing the one that you belong to, that some of these people like Dr. Kiza Besigye, were part of formation, is self-defeating. I believe that it is being done in bad faith. It is not right, and the intention is, rather than target the organization, they are targeting the individual members who are leaders within this organization.
You see, according to that faction of FDC, again, I don't know how to use it. So what can I use?
That group of people, they are not a faction of our party.
They have clearly said that the direction that FDC or the party was taking was not good, that the purpose of the Forum for Democratic Change and the reason why that party was formed, you have veered off, and therefore the framers of the FDC constitution foresaw a place where the party could be dissolved under Article 36 of the Constitution. And they are moving through that article to say, this is not what we envision the party to look like, and it's now time for us to dissolve the party.
There is no need to dissolve the party. And I think there is a history to this. Of course, we have had our strange disagreements within the party from the time of its inception. And this is not going to be the first time that a group of people decide to leave the party. We have a history to this. In 2010, my sister and good friend, Betty Olive Kamia Namisango Ruomwe, disagreed with Dr. Kizza Besigye and his administration. By the way, we should note the fact that Ruomwe was a political powerhouse, especially in the Central region. She brought a lot of people into the FDC from amongst her own kin and kith, and was a great asset to us. But she disagreed with the establishment. She disagreed with Dr. Kizza Besigye. She felt we were moving in a wrong direction. She decided to form a new party, the Uganda Federal Alliance. And she did seek to dissolve the FDC in order to form a new organization. The second hiccup
the Federal Alliance
that we experienced in our political history of 20 years was the departure of General Muntu. Such a gentleman who felt mistreated by his own party. He was one, just like Betty Kamia, one of the founders of the FDC. He came to me and said, Power, I think there's something wrong that you have not seen in that organization that you now lead. I am going out to carry out consultations. And he put this in writing. Such a decent man. He put it in writing. And I said, well, brother, go out, do what you want, and come back and we have a conversation, which he did. He returned to my office at the FDC and said to me, look, we have consulted and it looks like we are on our way out. The following weeks, we had intense negotiations to try and keep him within the fold. Unfortunately, I think he and his team had taken the decision to move out. And indeed, they moved out. They did not seek to dissolve the political organization called FDC. What is special about these Lukwago, Semuju, Ambassador Birigwa? I would like to say they do not feel the pain of the formation of this organization.
That's what I was going to say.
Because Ambassador Birigwa came on the eve of an election in 2015 in Lugogo. He had just crossed from the NRM. And we are totally blind. And I think I would like to tender our apology to the public for disrespecting our constitution, especially to those who contested with Birigwa, Wandero Gallo, the late Absalom Bwanikabale from Luero. These were main contenders for the seat of chairman. They were founder members of the FDC. They were big names within the FDC. But Wechitibwa, Birigwa, and Wechitibwa, Sebugwao, caused confusion in that delegates conference, claiming this was a big wig, a big name, in total disregard of the provisions of our constitution. And so we end up having a half-baked person in as far as the affairs of the FDC are concerned, and no wonder we are now having to lie on the bed that we lay. On a bed of thorns because of a person who has got little consideration for the existence of the FDC. This applies to Semuju, somebody who came from journalism and came straight opportunistically into the FDC, wanted to win, brought in by Njuba. Njuba, who was a very powerful political figure in Chadondo East. And he's just carried by Njuba to parliament. That was his main objective.
But Semuju Nganda has been a very strong pillar within the Forum for Democratic Change Party.
Well, there's no doubt about that. But
he has been the party's chief whip. He has been one of the spokespersons of the party. A strong
some of those
Paul
positions,
within the party.
some of those positions,
You can't dismiss him like
some
that.
of those positions are given on a give and take basis. You should be cognizant of the fact that Ibrahim Semuju should have left with General Muntu because he was his chief campaign manager against me. And he called me all sorts of names. But in the spirit of reconciliation, we said, well, come back. We are going to guarantee that you continue being in that position as the chief opposition whip at the time when we were the leading opposition political party in parliament. And when you look at the Lord Mayor of Kampala, my brother Elias Lukwago, also coming in the same way. We thought he had reformed because, Lukwago, everywhere he's gone, he's been a source of confusion. He will be known for that in the political history of this country. There is no doubt about that. And, his record speaks for itself. But, we decided that we'd turn a blind eye to this kind of history that he had. And we thought, we could transform him. We also believed that he would bring in new energy into the FDC by bringing in his followers from Kampala. He didn't do that. And instead, we realized a little bit too late, after I had appointed him deputy president to deputize me, coming from Buganda, I realized too late that he was an implant to cause confusion, new confusion within the FDC. And then we said, okay, if you want the leadership of FDC, let us go to the elections. They said, no, we don't want elections. We want a postponement of elections. There's confusion in the FDC. And by the way, what is manifesting itself today as a source of confusion began over 4 years ago.
And that's what
in fact, it has got ties to our history.
Yeah, and that's where I was going to come from, Boa. How did we get here?
Well, it is historic in nature, unknown to most of political players in this country and those who follow the politics. It began by the creation of camps in our very first delegates conference that took place in Krugersdorp outside Johannesburg, at which delegates conference we endorsed Dr. Kizza Besigye as our leader. He was in exile, as I said earlier, at the time. But immediately, General Muntu went to Dr. Besigye and said, I am going to compete with you. After that endorsement, this is unknown to many political players and citizens of this country. And from that point, there emerged the Muntu camp and the Besigye camp. Now, the current leaders within the FDC are Besigyists, or were believers of Besigye. Those who went with Muntu were believers of Muntu. So these camps caused a lot of friction within the organization. And little did we know, we who were followers of Dr. Besigye, by the way, religiously, a number adored him. What he said was the law. What he said was gospel truth to most of us. We did not understand him as a person who believed he should be the leader all the time. And some of these things that are happening, the moment I got to the leadership of the FDC, everybody thought the blue-eyed boy of Dr. Besigye was now in the leadership. And so the Besigye camp, which I belonged to at the time, wanted to have full control over the political organization that I led. They wanted to direct what would happen in the political organization. They wanted to continue having influence on the political organization that I led. They continued to operate parallel structures which were not clearly aligned to the FDC. And when I said, wait a minute, gentlemen, we are going in the wrong direction, I am not going to go with you using that modus operandi. And they said, no, he's been compromised. He's been given money by Nandala Mafabi. They have received money from Museveni. And to this I really laugh, a big laugh, because maybe known to a number of people, historically I have opposed Mr. Museveni. We've challenged him, even when Dr. Kizza Besigye was still part of that rotten system. We've continued to challenge him. And to this day, which we continue to challenge him. And so, when Dr. Kizza Besigye presented an opportunity, we thought, well, this was a force to reckon with. We should ally with this force. But he found us in the opposition. That is our history, and nobody can change this. And so, coming up to say, well, he could continue to control us and unleash propaganda against us is something that was extremely disappointing. We were disappointed at him. And so we have continued to run the party even without him. The second aspect that needs to be considered is the fact that we as the FDC have faced the brunt of cruelty because we are the single political organization that has transcended the syndrome called founder syndrome. We have transited from it. And that where one individual will want to hold on to the party as if it was a personal property, like is in the case in UPC, the case in the Democratic Party, the glaring case in the NRM, we have gone out of that. Ours is a liberated party where leaders can come and go. And that, Dr. Kizza Besigye had his influence, he made his contribution, but it was time for him to move and sit aside and operate from the sidelines while giving advice to the new leaders. General Mutu did come. Time for him came through a democratic process, free, fair, and credible election for him to move. And he moved. Time for power has come. He's in the seat at the moment. The time will come when he has to move. And a new set of leaders come in place. In fact, I just have 4 more years, to be president of the FDC, and I will no longer be president of the FDC. Unless something miraculous happens, I will never. And so, apart from exhibiting or exercising internal democracy, we have also beaten the founder syndrome, which continues to cause trouble in most political organizations in this country. Now, we have also stopped relying on leaders. And I am a good testimony of this. During the election of 2021, I offered myself as presidential flag bearer of the FDC. At the time, we had hoped that Dr. Kizza Besigye would take up the challenge again. He refused to take up the challenge. In fact, it was in his mind that the FDC should back Bobi Wine, Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. And we had a number of meetings to this effect, which meetings I challenged as not being the legitimate organ to decide for the FDC. When the matter was taken to the National Council, the National Council, by the way, is a collection of chairpersons of our chapters across the country. The National Council said we are going to fill candidates in all positions, wherever it's possible. And this is what happened. No Besigye, power. No Besigye even coming to the campaign, but power pulling through. And you can trust that it earned us some political dividend. 2021 was without Dr. Kizza Besigye, our big drum. And so the small drums are now developing into, powerful drums. I'm sure that in 2026, he will no longer be with us totally. We will not even wish him.
How did that make you feel?
Well, there was a lot of pain in my heart because we had worked with Dr. Kizza Besigye for a long time. It was a mix of pain and sweetness, for that matter. and that we had expected him as our founding president to be part of the campaign. He declined, giving his own reasons. But I'm glad that I told him later that I felt that he never came to the campaign because he wanted to preserve himself politically, given the wave of the people power and NUP that engulfed the entire country ahead of the election of 2021. But also, we began to believe in ourselves from that point going forward. I am sure that there is going to have to be serious negotiation in choosing the next presidential candidate. I'm very certain a number of people are going to express interest because they now know that it's possible to do it even in the absence of Dr. Kizza Besigye, who is a big political player in this country.
If we are to flip that coin as well, under your leadership, the Forum for Democratic Change Party has performed worst. For example, fielding the number of MPs in the House, you've lost your position as the party, opposition political party that has the most number of MPs and therefore can move the House to some extent. And perhaps your modus operandi is one of the reasons why, big wigs within the Forum for Democratic Change, like Dr. Kizza Besigye, like, the likes of Ssemujju Nganda and the Wasabirigwas, felt that you're not driving the party in the right direction.
If that was the case, then they should have come and removed me democratically, or the leaders in the FDC. When you look at the environment under which we operate today, it's completely different from the environment that we operated in 20 years ago. 25 years ago, when Dr. Kizza Besigye shot into fame.
But the party evolves with the time. It cannot be the same political party as it was 20 years ago.
Well, that is true. Consider also the fact that there's voter apathy and the narrative of the 2021 elections. Everyone, the narrative, especially of NUP, was that we had failed totally. Any gullible voter in the country would believe them. Because as a party, we had been there 3 times. With Dr. Kizza Besigye, we had been in the election 4 times.
And FDC was one of the biggest presented the biggest opposition force against the NRM.
Indeed. And at the time, all of us were united. When we first, as a political party, contested for the presidency in 2006, we were together. Betty Kamia was there, brought in sub Beatrice Anwar, Alex Onzima, all these founder members. Kalegan Juba was still alive. Suleiman Chikundu was there. Prince Kimera, all these powerful people who have since passed on. We were united. There were no contradictions in the party. Then we began to experience contradictions. A major force breaks away in Betty Kamia. Another major force breaks away in General Mugisha Muntu, going with nearly 20 members of parliament. Surely you should be praising me on this show that the FDC is still alive. People shouldn't point fingers at me. They shouldn't point fingers at my administration. And again, the environment changed. As I observed, there was a huge wave of people power and NUP.
And senior members from your party.
Which you cannot wish away. I mean, you
and senior members of your party left and joined NUP.
Well, I don't know how many did. But I think that it's more accurate to say that they left and joined the Alliance for National Transformation. Not many of the FDC joined NUP. Even those who would have loved to stuck with the party. But that wave certainly could have changed the mindset of the people. And people who were hitherto part of our voters decided to shift. And this can happen to NUP anytime when a new player comes in presenting new hope. And that is the dynamics of our politics. And that is what Mr. Museveni has put us into. It is also true that during the elections of 2021, there was a a ban on movement. We did it under a situation of a COVID pandemic and a lockdown. And we could not campaign freely. No wonder in the 65 days when I was supposed to be campaigning, I was arrested 45 times, sometimes twice in a day, confined in vehicles, under handcuffs, sometimes, incarcerated in police stations. Today I have about 10 cases, political cases, across the country. They are littered across the country on account of that election. So the FDC merely did not present their agenda. And of course, this situation was taken advantage of by a celebrity, a musician, turned politician, whom everyone now looked at as, the new person who would bring, change to this country. And the population ignored the fact that we had been going through a lot of political turmoil in the many times that we had contested. I am glad that to the advantage of the FDC today, the population will appreciate the task that we had before us in the previous elections.
Patrick, Oboi, Amuriat, I feel that Ugandans are very disappointed we're disappointed with what is happening within the Front for Democratic Change. We felt that you could do more to unite the big forces within the party and present a formidable force. We thought that beyond these divisions, that senior members within the party could look away from their personal differences, unite and come together, go back to the Forum for Democratic Change party that we knew, that, go past all your differences, reconcile people. And you as the president, that was one of your core deliverables, bring people together, come back to the FDC we knew. You have big wigs, you have Dr. Kiza Besigye, you have the Patrick Amuriat Oboi, you have the Semujungandas, you have the Rukwagos. The force that we thought could iron out its differences and come together and present an alternative agenda to Ugandans. Many of them are disappointed by the FDC.
I appreciate the disappointment of Ugandans with us or in us. I also feel the pain that they do feel, because the FDC is no ordinary organization. We have had to lose blood in the formative stages and even continue to lose people on account of their political beliefs. Many people have been maimed. A number have been kept in prison, some of them still in prison for long periods of time. A number of them have been deprived of opportunities while on the path of strengthening the FDC. I really feel their pain. And I think if I could do better, if it was within my means, I would really bring this party together. But we got to appreciate that in a situation like this, it takes two to tango. And that whereas we are willing to talk, to dialogue, we are willing even to give away something for the sake of bringing ourselves together. But our friends the other side are unwilling, and they have made it public. They say they will never talk to these thugs in Najanankumbi, these fellows who have sold our party to Museveni. The narrative has been that the Secretary General and myself have actually sold the FDC to Museveni. And I don't know which part of the FDC has been sold to Museveni. This narrative has subsisted for 4 years now, and we are still the party that people knew we were, albeit with these internal problems. Many people, by the way, have offered to mediate in the impasse within the FDC. But I think our colleagues have made up their mind to move out of the party. And we can only wish them well wherever they go. Sad
what
story
next
of the
for
FDC?
FDC?
But the reality, the stark reality of the situation.
What's next for the FDC?
Well, I don't think that we are so desperate at the moment. One thing about the FDC is that
You're losing a big chunk of the big boys within the party,
this is what
forming a new party.
This is what was said when Muntu left. And as I said earlier on the show, Muntu left with a real formidable force. They went out. Our only comfort, and the greatest comfort that we have, is that it is the foot soldiers that make those leaders. The brand of Dr. Kizza Besigye was not made by himself. It was created and nurtured, grown by the efforts of the common foot soldier. All of us contributed towards that brand. Without us, you can't have that brand. And this has been demonstrated. Recently, both teams went out to the countryside to engage with the population. When the consultation by our friends in Katonga was announced, we said, okay, let them go out. And it was our wish that there would be no disruption by the police. Indeed, they went out. The pictures are there to speak for what happened. You know, the people of Uganda know the kind of reception that they received. The level of mobilization that they achieved is well known. It's written everywhere. In contrast, when we went out mobilizing the population, we got thousands of people. In fact, in the cricket oval in Mbale, we marshaled nearly 30,000 people from Mbale city and the surrounding areas. 14,000, 15,000 in Soroti, almost an equal number in Kasese, and in Arua city, in Gulu, 12,000, in Lugazi, nearly 20,000, and in Jinja, close to 20,000 as well. Now, if you take the level of mobilization by the party that I had as something small, then you are not a close follower of the politics of this country. And I think that we would like to surrender our friends painfully. We would have loved them to keep with us. But as Dr. Kizza Besigye said in 2019, actually, he thought that we were beginning to disrespect him in 2019, and he said to us, if we continue this way, then we shall part ways. So this was anticipated. We buckled up in order to weather this storm. From that time, from 2019, 5 years now, we have continued to dig in to assert the influence of the party in the population.
Will you weather this storm?
And by the way, I would like to say to you that much as we would love all the leaders to be with us, to us what is most important is the building blocks of this party, and the building blocks of this party, the foundation of this party, is found in the people. That local chairman, village chairman who rides his bicycle every day to campaign for us, goes to beer parties, goes to funerals, goes to wedding parties, talks about the FDC everywhere, is the person we treasure, and we treasure most. The question you are asking today is a question that was asked of me in 2018. That time, Muntu had decided to leave. And together with him, like I said earlier, 25 actually, not 20, 25 members of parliament left. And the media was all over me, this thing has collapsed in your hands. At one point, I believed that it was actually collapsing. I believed the roof was falling on me. But because I had a committed team in the FDC, they said, President, we are going to work together to circumvent this occurrence. And indeed, we went back to the population. Most of the 25 members of parliament who went against us did not survive the election of 2021. The only survivors were Katuntu and Okupa. And we know why they survived. And that puts justification to my assertion that what matters is the people on the ground, not the people at the top. And to answer your question in a single statement, I am extremely confident that under my leadership, we are going to weather this storm. And the FDC is going to emerge stronger than ever before. I see you don't believe me. But I want you to believe me, because it's going to happen. And the evidence of this is going to be shown in the next election. We are going to be extremely competitive because of the hiccups that we have suffered. We have begun preparations early. And so you are going to see us charging the crowds wherever we are going to go. We are going to start with the exercise of preparing our candidates, not only just, having selection done. We are also going to train our candidates, something that we never did before. We are going to go to their constituencies and campaign with them even before the close of this year. So Solomon, expect a different cup of tea in the election of 2020.
I want to be as optimistic as you are, but I also am alive to the fact that when core pillars of a building are removed, the building's very foundation is not stable. Patrick, Oboi, Amuriat, does the center still hold?
Well, one thing is true about, and by the way, that is my area. My area is the area of construction. And I will say to you, once a pillar is removed and is replaced by another, and especially if it is replaced by another pillar that is stronger, the house will stand. The center will hold. I'm extremely confident of that. And I think you've seen us exuding confidence wherever we have gone in this country, and would like everybody in this country to hold their breath and see the wonders that we are capable of performing.
Patrick, Amuriat, Oboi, in an answer, is Forum for Democratic Change Party still there? Because I hear you. We have we have people who are saying they have dissolved the party. We have Patrick Amuriat to say the party is still there. One word to the FDC supporters out there and to Ugandans. Do we still have an FDC?
I would like to assure our members and Ugandans that FDC still exists. FDC is really a spirit that is going around, formed on the basis of equality, on the basis of liberation, and that we continue to espouse these good ideals, and we continue to move forward. FDC exists so long as the people of Uganda exist, and that these wishful thinkers who think they are going to wind up FDC business will be extremely disappointed, and you will see once they fall flat on their face. I also would like to prophesy a stillbirth for the political organization that is being formed as an offshoot of the FDC.
A prophecy of doom.
It's not going to survive because it is built out of hate, very, very bad will towards the organization and the people of Uganda, out of selfishness, and people wanting to hold on to power. Some of those leaders hold on to power even when their time has passed.
Patrick Oboi Amuriat, President of the FDC, thank you so much for making time to speak with us.
Thank you for having me here.
Well, interesting conversations as we closely monitor what's happening really in the Forum for Democratic Change and how it's going to play out. I'm Solomon Serwanja. Thanks for watching. This is The Hard Questions.